For centuries, humanity has believed one truth about the cosmos, that nothing in it ever truly stands still. Every planet spins, every star burns, and every comet races endlessly through the void. But a few months ago, that certainty shattered. The James Webb Space Telescope and observatories across the world detected something that should be impossible. 3I Atlas, an interstellar traveler older than our sun itself, suddenly stopped moving. Not slowed, not dimmed, stopped. It was as if the laws of motion, the very heartbeat of the universe, had skipped a beat. Instruments confirmed it wasn't an error. Multiple telescopes, across continents and in orbit, all saw the same impossible image. An object frozen in place against the backdrop of the stars. For hours, maybe days. And when 3I Atlas finally began to move again, the questions it left behind would shake physics, astronomy, and even philosophy to their core. Was it a simple cosmic illusion? Or proof that there are forces or technologies beyond anything we've ever known? Because this wasn't just another comet. The James Webb Telescope captured thermal oscillations, rhythmic shifts in temperature, and patterns of light that looked less like chaos and more like control. Something, or someone, seemed to be regulating this object. So what really happened when the universe went silent? What could make a massive interstellar body defy gravity, inertia, and time itself? Stay with me until the end, because as scientists are now discovering, this wasn't just a pause in motion. It was a message. It began like any other night of observation, quiet, routine, and predictable. Across observatories from Chile to Hawaii, astronomers were tracking the faint shimmer of 3I Atlas, an object known to be on a hyperbolic trajectory cutting through our solar system, a cosmic passerby never meant to return. But then, the unthinkable happened. At first, the instruments showed a strange flattening in its velocity curve. The object's measurable motion across the sky, its proper motion, began to decline. Within hours, it reached zero. 3I Atlas, an interstellar body traveling at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour, stopped. The disbelief was instant. The laws of physics leave no room for rest in space. An object in motion must stay in motion unless acted upon by a force. Yet no gravitational field, no visible jet, no nearby planet or magnetic influence could explain this event. It was as if the very fabric of space around it had conspired to hold it still. Technicians first suspected a calibration error. Perhaps the telescope's tracking software had glitched, or a background star had aligned perfectly to mask the movement. But within minutes, confirmation came from other observatories. Japan, Spain, Australia. Even amateur astronomers using high-sensitivity telescopes reported the same anomaly. 3I Atlas was motionless. That's when panic turned to awe. Nothing, not comets, not asteroids, not even spacecraft, had ever done this before. The idea of an object pausing in space contradicted everything Newton and Einstein ever taught us. A hyperbolic orbit means escape. It means momentum that never stops. But the trajectory data showed something else entirely. A sudden plateau in speed, a silence in motion, as if some unseen force had pressed pause on the universe itself. NASA and ESA teams rushed to rule out natural explanations. Could the sun's gravity have counteracted its velocity? Impossible. At that distance, solar pull was far too weak. Could it have been hit by another body? There was no debris, no shock wave, no shift in brightness. The phenomenon defied every model, a mystery wrapped in precision. For hours, the object remained fixed, not drifting, not spinning off course, not accelerating, a frozen beacon in the dark. Even the background stars continued to move behind it, confirming it wasn't an illusion. It was the cosmos that moved, not 3I Atlas. And then, just as abruptly as it stopped, it began to move again. Slowly at first, as if regaining consciousness, then smoothly returning to its original path, leaving behind nothing but data and disbelief. That moment, the day motion itself faltered, would become one of the greatest puzzles in astronomical history. Scientists now refer to it as the pause. But as new analysis from the James Webb Telescope revealed, what happened that night wasn't just a glitch in celestial mechanics. The readings taken during those hours, the thermal pulses, the subtle oscillations in light, hinted at something even stranger. Because during the stillness, 3I Atlas wasn't silent. It was active. When the data from the first observatory came in, disbelief was the natural reaction. A pause in motion? Impossible. Every scientist on duty assumed a malfunction, an error in calibration, a glitch in software, maybe a momentary disturbance caused by solar radiation. But that illusion shattered when, one by one, observatories across the world confirmed the same impossible thing. From the Subaru telescope in Hawaii to La Silla in Chile, and even the European Southern Observatory in Paranal, astronomers began reporting identical readings. 3I Atlas wasn't moving. The stars in the background shifted as expected, the galaxies drifted as they always did, but the interstellar object at the center of every frame remained locked in place, perfectly stationary. Within hours, the confirmation spread beyond professional networks. Amateur astronomers with high-precision instruments began capturing images that matched the professionals' data. Even small observatories in Spain, Japan, and Australia verified the same coordinates. The object's relative position against the background sky was unchanged. It wasn't an error of optics, nor of perception. It was real. The news raced across the international astronomy community. Data synchronization between multiple instruments, optical, infrared, and radio, ruled out the possibility of a shared error. The phenomenon wasn't atmospheric. It wasn't software. The pause existed in space itself. The first official alert came from a collaboration between NASA's Minor Planet Center and the European Space Agency. Their joint message, circulated among scientists in coded urgency, reads simply, Object 3I Atlas currently displays no measurable motion relative to background stars. Multiple confirmations received. Cause unknown. That phrase, cause unknown, sent ripples through every lab and control room. Researchers combed through every conceivable explanation. Could the telescopes have aligned perfectly with 3I Atlas's vector of motion, creating the illusion of stillness? Simulations quickly disproved that theory. The object's velocity and the Earth's orbit made such alignment impossible. The Hubble Space Telescope soon joined the effort. Despite its lower infrared sensitivity compared to the James Webb Telescope, Hubble's long-range optical imaging provided independent verification, the same stillness, the same position. Its sensors, too, detected no parallax shift, no measurable drift. The object wasn't merely slowing down, it was truly static. Meanwhile, James Webb, orbiting far beyond the moon, captured something deeper. Its infrared detectors recorded thermal variations, small but rhythmic, rippling across the object's surface. It was as though the body was alive with faint oscillations, breathing, even as it remained motionless. By the time data from ground-based and orbital telescopes were cross-checked, one thing was undeniable. This wasn't a local anomaly. It was a cosmic event, visible across the entire planet, confirmed through multiple independent optical systems. In science, replication is everything. And replication was exactly what made this moment terrifying. The same impossibility observed by one instrument could be dismissed as error. But when the entire network of human observation, spanning continents, time zones, and technologies, sees the exact same thing, the truth becomes inescapable. Across every observatory, every telescope, and every mind staring into the night, the realization sank in. The laws of motion had just broken, right in front of us. And as scientists rushed to explain the unexplainable, one question rose louder than the rest. What kind of force could silence motion itself? The answer, as they would soon discover, lay not in gravity or light, but in the unseen fields of energy surrounding the sun. When the stillness of 3I Atlas was first confirmed, physicists around the world reacted the same way, with disbelief. An interstellar object like this one moves along what's called a hyperbolic trajectory, a one-way path through a star system. By definition, it cannot stop. Nothing with such velocity and momentum can simply pause in the vacuum of space. The mathematics of orbital mechanics don't allow it. The universe itself doesn't allow it. Yet here it was, motionless. According to every law we know, an object that crosses into the sun's gravitational field from interstellar space does so with enormous kinetic energy. The sun's pull can alter its path, bend it slightly, or accelerate it, but it can never make it stop. To halt a body traveling at tens of kilometers per second would require a counteracting force equivalent to billions of nuclear detonations, a level of energy not found in nature outside of stellar explosions. And still, 3I Atlas wasn't moving. The first explanation proposed was deceptively simple, a perspective illusion. Maybe the object was moving directly toward or away from Earth, making its motion appear invisible from our line of sight. But the parallax data ruled that out immediately. Observations from different positions around the globe, and even from space-based telescopes, all showed the same thing: no relative motion. Then came the idea of optical error. Perhaps the object's brightness had fluctuated, giving the illusion of stillness. But spectral analysis destroyed that theory too. The light curve remained stable, with no interruptions or distortions to explain the apparent halt. That left one chilling conclusion: the pause was real. The physics community was left in chaos. Momentum cannot vanish. There was no known mechanism, not gravitational, magnetic, or thermal, that could cancel an interstellar object's speed without destroying it. Even sublimation, the process of gas jets ejecting material from a comet's surface, couldn't possibly generate the kind of reverse thrust required. The amount of gas and energy needed would have vaporized the object instantly. In simple terms, what 3I Atlas did was impossible. It was as if a bullet fired through space had suddenly decided to stop mid-air, defying both inertia and energy conservation. Some theorists tried to make sense of it with increasingly exotic ideas. Could it have entered a gravitational dead zone, where opposing forces from the sun and galactic plane perfectly canceled each other out? The calculations didn't fit. Others suggested an interaction with an unknown electromagnetic field, something powerful enough to temporarily neutralize momentum. But such a field, if it existed, should have been detectable, and no instruments recorded anything abnormal in the region. As the hours of stillness turned into days, the event became a living paradox. Every physicist who studied it agreed on one thing: the energy needed to stop 3I Atlas was astronomical, far beyond what nature could supply. Unless, of course, the energy didn't come from nature at all. For many, that thought was too unsettling to voice. Because if this wasn't a natural pause, then it was a controlled one. The kind of precision required to bring a 3-kilometer-wide interstellar body to a complete stop, without collision, without disintegration, would imply a level of technology so advanced it borders on the impossible. And yet, that's exactly what the data described. Not chaos, not randomness, but perfect control. 3I Atlas had done what no object in the known universe had ever done before. It broke motion itself. And as scientists continued to watch, the impossible became even more haunting. Because the pause wasn't silent. The object was emitting heat, faint and rhythmic, as if regulating its own energy, like a pulse beating against the void. Something was happening inside 3I Atlas, something that wasn't supposed to exist. As scientists struggled to make sense of what they were seeing, a comet that could stop, regulate itself, and resume motion as though obeying hidden commands, a new idea began to take shape, one that blurred the line between physics and philosophy. What if 3I Atlas wasn't alive in the biological sense, but instead possessed a kind of structural intelligence? It began with the thermal data. During its mysterious stillness, 3I Atlas displayed rhythmic oscillations in temperature and brightness, pulsing like a living organism adjusting to its environment. The James Webb Space Telescope recorded periodic fluctuations so consistent that they resembled feedback control loops, the same kind of stability systems engineers use in spacecraft and reactors to regulate energy. The pattern was unmistakable: an input, a correction, a response. It wasn't randomness, it was behavior. But how could a comet behave? That question led physicists and materials scientists down a radical path. Some proposed that certain structures of matter could, under extreme conditions, begin to exhibit self-regulating properties, patterns of organization without consciousness. Just as crystals grow symmetrically or cells form networks without intent, perhaps there exist materials that can sense energy gradients and react in ways that preserve equilibrium, giving the illusion of control. This concept became known as intelligent matter. The idea was that intelligence doesn't have to mean awareness. It can mean responsiveness. A structure capable of adapting to heat, magnetism, or radiation without falling apart, demonstrates a form of intelligence embedded in its geometry, not its mind. And in the case of 3I Atlas, its chemical and structural properties seem to support that possibility. Spectral readings taken during the pause revealed that the object wasn't composed like a normal comet. Its surface showed traces of complex crystalline carbon and metallic compounds, arranged in lattice-like formations that could, in theory, conduct energy with extraordinary precision. When bombarded by solar radiation, such a structure might redistribute heat internally, keeping itself stable, a kind of natural feedback system born not of intention, but of structure. Still, the implications were staggering. The universe had always been divided between the living and the inanimate, between things that think and things that don't. But what if 3I Atlas occupied the space between those categories, a hybrid of physics and function, a bridge between chemistry and awareness? One researcher from NASA's Advanced Concepts team described it best. We may be looking at a new kind of intelligence, not biological, not artificial, but material, a body that thinks through structure. To many, it sounded absurd. To others, it explained everything. The self-stabilization, the rhythmic energy pulses, even the perfect stillness, all could be the result of a non-living but self-regulating architecture, a cosmic mechanism designed to adapt and endure across billions of years. But a darker interpretation began to emerge as well. What if 3I Atlas didn't develop this property naturally? What if it was designed to behave this way, a construct built to maintain equilibrium no matter where it traveled? That would make it not a comet, but a machine that learned to mimic life, or perhaps something even older, an artifact of the universe's own self-learning processes. If matter itself can self-regulate, if structure alone can think, then the boundaries of intelligence no longer belong to biology. The universe itself could be filled with systems that observe, adjust, and remember without ever being alive. And as the data from 3I Atlas continued to stream in, one realization began to haunt the teams studying it. If intelligence can arise from structure, then everything, every planet, every star, every atom, might already be thinking in ways we can't yet perceive. 3I Atlas had not just paused in space. It had forced humanity to confront a question older than science itself. What if the universe isn't just moving? What if it's alive? As the debate around 3I Atlas's mysterious pause grew, a new and far more profound interpretation began to emerge, one that shifted the discussion from physics to the origins of life itself. What if that brief, impossible stillness wasn't just a mechanical or energetic event, but a chemical one, a catalyst moment where creation itself took place? During the period in which 3I Atlas appeared motionless, the James Webb Space Telescope and several Earth-based observatories continued to monitor its spectral signature. What they detected was subtle, but revolutionary: the faint fingerprints of complex organic molecules forming within its coma. These weren't random chemical traces or isolated elements. They were structured carbon chains, precursors to amino acids, the building blocks of biological life. It was as though, in the absence of motion, reaction had awakened. The temperature fluctuations recorded during the pause were particularly striking. Instead of dropping into thermal stasis, the surface of 3I Atlas exhibited oscillations, heating and cooling in regular intervals. This rhythmic thermal cycling could have created ideal conditions for molecular synthesis, where carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen atoms combined in patterns too ordered to be accidental. Some scientists proposed that, in its silence, 3I Atlas had become a kind of cosmic laboratory, an ancient vessel reactivating the chemistry of life. Its composition supported that theory. Abnormally high concentrations of deuterium and carbon dioxide, paired with a noticeable scarcity of water, suggested that the object came from a region of the galaxy where temperatures were far lower than any planetary system could sustain. In such environments, organic molecules can remain dormant for eons, protected by ice and metal, until heat or radiation reawakens them. And when the object halted, whether by natural physics or by design, those conditions may have aligned perfectly. The combination of solar radiation, internal energy redistribution, and rhythmic temperature changes could have acted as a trigger, activating long-dormant molecular processes frozen since before our sun was born. That's when a remarkable idea began to spread through astrobiology circles. Perhaps 3I Atlas wasn't just a messenger of physics, but a seed, part of the grand mechanism of panspermia, the theory that life's ingredients travel between stars aboard comets and interstellar debris. If this were true, then the stillness of 3I Atlas might not have been random. It could have been a moment of transformation, a pause designed to allow internal chemistry to reorganize and evolve before continuing its journey. The object's stop wasn't the absence of movement, it was incubation. Some researchers compared it to a biological process, a hibernation cycle. Just as seeds on Earth lie dormant until warmth and light awaken them, perhaps 3I Atlas's stillness served the same function on a cosmic scale. It paused not to defy physics, but to create chemistry, to reset its own composition and prepare the elements of life for the next step in their endless voyage across the stars. It's a poetic and terrifying thought, that somewhere in the frozen silence between galaxies, the ingredients of life are waiting, moving from system to system to system, testing conditions, awakening only when the physics of a young star allows them to evolve. And if 3I Atlas truly carried those seeds, if, during its impossible stillness, it rekindled the molecular fire that leads to DNA, then it may not just be a relic of the past. It could be the reason we exist, because maybe life didn't begin on Earth at all. Maybe it began with travelers like this one, ancient couriers of creation, pausing only when the universe itself tells them it's time to grow. And in that moment of silence, when 3I Atlas stopped moving and began to breathe chemically, it may have proven one truth that humanity has always suspected but never understood, that life isn't confined to planets or oceans. It's woven into the motion and stillness of the cosmos itself. When 3I Atlas first entered our skies, no one expected it to rewrite the rules of existence. It was supposed to be just another interstellar visitor, a frozen fragment from beyond the sun's reach. Yet what we witnessed was something no human had ever seen before, an object that defied gravity, inertia, and even time itself. It stopped, and in that impossible stillness, the universe spoke. The James Webb Space Telescope captured evidence that motion had not ended. It had transformed. Inside that frozen frame, energy pulsed, temperature oscillated, and chemistry awakened. What seemed like silence was, in truth, a conversation between matter and creation itself. For the first time, humanity saw that stillness does not mean death, it means potential. That the pause of 3I Atlas might not have been an error of physics, but an act of purpose, the universe's own heartbeat slowing down to reveal the mechanism of life. The implications are staggering. If an interstellar object can halt its motion to trigger molecular reactions, then perhaps the origins of life are not bound to planets at all. Perhaps they drift across the galaxy, waiting for the right moment, the right temperature, the right pulse of light to awaken. Perhaps every pause, every still moment in the cosmos, is part of a much larger rhythm we are only beginning to hear. This changes everything. The question is no longer how did 3I Atlas stop, but why? What if that moment of silence wasn't a malfunction of physics, but an instruction, a demonstration, showing us that life itself is the universe learning to pause, to reflect, to evolve? Maybe the cosmos doesn't speak in words, but in pauses, in the brief stillnesses between creation and motion, where awareness begins. And maybe that's what we witnessed when 3I Atlas stopped moving, not a comet freezing in space, but the universe remembering itself. For all our science and technology, the truth remains humbling. We are part of something far older, deeper, and more intelligent than we can comprehend. 3I Atlas reminded us that even the emptiness of space is alive with mystery, that silence itself can carry meaning. And when it finally resumed its journey, vanishing once again into the dark beyond our reach, it left behind a lesson carved into the memory of every scientist who saw it. That motion is not the essence of existence. Awareness is. So as we look up at the stars, searching for other worlds, other minds, or other forms of life, we may have already found what we were looking for, not in the noise of the cosmos, but in the moment it stood still. Because the universe, for one fleeting instant, held its breath, and in that silence, it may have told us everything.